Welcome to the July update of the Willoughby New Haven line. I've got a couple of big things to share with you this month. First off, I want to thank all of the subscribers to this channel. I have officially reached 1,000, which is something I never thought would happen. I know there's a lot of people I follow that have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and I go to those channels because they have so much to offer, and I'm just humbled by the fact that I have 1,000 subscribers for this little channel. I take great pride in my layout and appreciate all the viewers and subscribers and all the likes and comments I get, but for me this is just a small little hobby that I enjoy, and so I appreciate each and every one of you, and thanks for watching, taking part in the comments. I've learned a lot through the comments, and hopefully I have shed some light on a few things that people may not have known about or understood something about, or helped to inspire somebody. But again, thank you again. It's a huge humbling honor to have reached 1,000. I don't have any great expectations for this channel or great plans for this channel. It's basically, as a creative individual, I like setting up little personal goals, and for me with this channel, getting an update out once a month is a satisfying enough goal to keep the channel going, and to keep the progress going on my layout as kind of a motivation to kind of keep the material updated on a regular basis, and kind of one helps feed the other. The progress on the layout helps feed the channel helps motivate me to do more progress. So again, thank you very much. Can't thank people who have subscribed enough. If you haven't, consider it, please. Hit the notifications so you get notified when I do update. Like I said, I try to update every month. I think I've been on every month consistently for quite a while now, over a year or two. I forget what episode number this is. I'm in the 30s or 40s. You'll see that on the title once I get that up here. I don't know what it is at this point doing this update, but yeah, so let's get into the first thing. You can see it in the foreground here, but I'm going to zoom in and show you and discuss the first project that I worked on this month. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about this episode is my little passenger platform that I created here. If you follow my Instagram, I'll put another link up in the description, so you can please follow that. I update that a lot more often, and you'll get kind of behind the scenes things. This passenger platform, this is, I think, the 4th iteration of it, or version of it. My construction techniques were not good from the start, and I modified and adjusted things to get to this point. Basically, my motivation was I had this space here that wasn't doing anything. I thought a passenger platform would be great in this location, so that way I had 3 stations or platforms. So I've got 2 actual stations, and then I've got this one platform here. And I figured it just kind of helped the whole idea of passenger line out a little bit more. It fits well in this location. I don't have a lot of room for anything else in this space. You can see I purposely zoomed out. You can see the control panel underneath. So I don't have a ton of space. I measured, I think it's 6 or 5 inches deep. I could put a siding in there, but there's not a lot of space. So let me go to a different angle and show you how this looks from a different angle, and then talk about how this came about. Okay, so here you can kind of see the end of it. It's a pretty simple structure. I had modeled this after essentially the Atlas passenger platform. It's a super old kit. I had the Atlas passenger station. I probably have, I have parts of it here. I had bought 2 kits when I was in high school, and it's an old kit. You can see some of it there. This is the roof, and I had kit bashed it so that the 2 parts kind of went together. The roof didn't really work. You can't really see it here, but that was essentially it. I like the way I had painted it and everything, but the roof didn't look accurate from an architectural standpoint. So I, long story short, I basically modeled this passenger platform after the add-on platform that you could get. It's a super cheap kit, but I figured since I had the materials, I would try to build one myself. The first construction that I did on it, it was way too high and way too big. I think I modeled it after the top of one of the other kits that I had, and for one of my passenger stations, one of the Walters kits, and it looked too high for such a simple structure, kind of basically only held up by the 3 beams. So it just looked way too high. So I shortened it down to make it fit the roof line of the Atlas kit that you see here. So it basically fits in line with the top part, so it would kind of fit and continue. So it's much better proportionally. And then I've got the 3 posts, and I used if you can see, I still have one on here, but the little kind of curved braces on the corner here. I used smaller ones underneath there. I'll show you what that looks like underneath in a second. And yeah, the construction of it was just bad when I started, and I had a hard time gluing it and keeping it in place. It was just a long process. So long story short, let me go underneath, show you what it looks like. Again, it's not perfect, but it's much better than it was. And I can't really describe all the terrible things I did before I got to this version, but I think it works at this point. So let me go underneath and we'll take a look. So if you can see, I've got the beam that comes up, and there's a beam that goes all the way across the middle on the top, and that sits on top of the 3 beams going across, and then going up to that, I've got the braces or brackets, or I guess braces. And those initially I had put those at the top of the vertical beams, and then the top beam sat on top of those, and it just didn't work. So now the braces or brackets go all the way up to the top, and the beam sits kind of in a slot between the top of the bracket and the top of the post. So it sits on top of the post, but the bracket comes up on top of the horizontal piece that runs along the whole top, if that makes sense. So it works a lot better. And then I used some bar mills shingles that I had left over, and they worked perfectly for the roof. And then I used some of the old, I think it's like the JLL or JTT or something, embossed siding that I had scraps of, and I did the front ends of those. I could probably add some trim or something, but it's, you know, again, it's a simple station and pretty simple construction. I used India ink wash to stain the wood. I think that looks pretty decent. I could probably weather the platform a little bit more. That is just plastic from an overhead light that I've used for other projects, cut it to size, and then I scribed in the cement lines into it, and then used a combination of acrylics on top of that to paint. Added 3 little details. I've got the fence, the mailbox, and then the phone and the trash can. I have people that I need to put in there, and some weathering, probably more on the actual ground. I had to build up the ground level so that it met the level of the track. If you can see, as you come across the tracks on the street, it dips down to the top of the wood here, and then it goes back up to this level to the track. So I had to kind of build all of this up so the platform is on track level, and then it kind of slopes back down and meets back into the hillside that goes up along there. So there was a lot of groundwork that I had to do to get this ready, and then get the foundation and everything kind of set in, and then add the platform on top. So it was a multi-day project, and again, since my construction techniques were not the greatest, I don't know why I had such a hard time with it, but again, I'm pretty pleased with the way it came out using just scraps that I had. So that's the first thing. The next thing is kind of an ongoing project, but an exciting one that has been a long time in the making. So let's go to a different section and we'll take a look at that. Okay, so if you notice anything different, hopefully you do, if you've been paying attention to the progress of this layout, is I finally have water in my stream, brook, or river, whatever you want to call it. I used Envirotex Light, whatever the epoxy, standard epoxy resin is, and I got that the other day, and that process, even when I did it, I've used that product one other time when I was in high school on the layout that my dad had built, and it was very stressful doing it then, and it was very stressful doing it now. I'm not really sure why. I think probably just because of the cost of it and the fact that it's kind of permanent. Like if you put it down, you can't really undo it. You could always go back over it, but yeah, it was very nerve-wracking, and there was a lot of preparation that I didn't feel I needed to do until I was about to do it, and then I was like, oh, I should do this, I should do that, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So the first thing was to clean everything. This river has kind of been just a breeding ground for dust, particles, miscellaneous track stuff, all kinds of just, debris, essentially. So the way the layout is set up, it's easy to clean up in this part, but if I move the camera and go into the back corner there, it's very difficult. There's space that I can walk behind that little shack in the back there. Right at the edge there, you can see the edge of the table and then the backdrop, and I can fit my body in there to clean and stuff, but getting my shop vac behind there to clean the track and the river area under there is very difficult. So cleaning it was just a pain as just one little task. And again, I've got foliage that had fallen in from putting the trees behind there and all of that stuff. If I kind of tilt back, it kind of gets lost back there, which actually kind of looks cool from this angle. But there was just a lot of prep work. So I did that, cleaned everything, vacuumed it, and then some of the stuff I was kind of thinking, like, I should probably, and I may have seen this in a video, but I probably should scenic cement the entire riverbed, just so that way I know it's sealed, nothing's going to leak through, and make sure that everything kind of holds down. Because what I feared was that the rocks and things that I had put in there might float up to the top or get suspended midway, that kind of thing. So I wanted to make sure that everything was secure and not going to move once I started pouring it. So I did that as well. So that was a whole day process where I put a generous layer of my scenic cement mixture down, which is just my Mod Podge and glue mixture. Let everything dry thoroughly, and then the last minute thing that I thought of is I should really tape my bridges and track, because I know I'm going to drip, and you can probably, if you look closely, you could probably see where I've dripped in a few spots. So I used blue painter's tape to tape all of the track and stuff, just because I've got what have I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bridges that go across the river. So I wanted to make sure that as I was moving my container of epoxy around, I didn't drip on anything that was gonna cause a problem later. So I cleaned it, scenic cemented it, and then taped all of my trackside stuff. And then I mixed up the mixture as, you know, per the directions, and laid it down, used the stick to kind of push it underneath some of the bridges where there was, where it didn't freely flow under there. The river isn't perfectly level and it doesn't pitch directly from front to back or back to front. It kind of undulates a little bit. So there's spots where the epoxy wouldn't just flow. So I had to make sure I got the epoxy everywhere so it looked continuous. And what was the other thing? Oh, I tried to tint it, but I was very, what's the word? Subtle, very light with the tinting. So it doesn't look tinted at all. Trust me, I did put some acrylic paint in my mixture before I poured it down, but I didn't go enough. But what I think I'm going to do is use Mod Podge to do rippling on top of it, which I will update when I get that done. And possibly, I was watching a bunch of different videos. I think there's a Vallejo kind of white water product that you can use. I've seen people use Mod Podge, and it actually looked very successful when it was finished, but Mod Podge and baking soda or powder, I forget, for like white water kind of stuff, for foam, that kind of scares me a little bit. So I'm gonna start slow and work with the Mod Podge first to do some ripples and things like that, and see how that comes out in spots. So I'll update once I get that done. But yeah, the water is in and it looks pretty good. I didn't get too many bubbles once I did the process of using a straw and blowing on it. Got it into all the areas I need it to be. It looks wet. It's obviously way too clear. I'm gonna take the camera off the tripod. You can see it looks very clear. But I'm okay with that for now. I made sure. The other thing I did before I did any of the cleanup was I painted the riverbed again to make the middle a little bit darker. There's a crack. It looks like a crack there. It's actually a stick that's very thin. I kind of wish I had removed that. I thought it was going to look okay, but now that the epoxy's on there, it kind of looks a little weird. I can probably disguise that with water effects. But I think it looks pretty good overall. Getting it under that bridge was kind of the under the track bridge there. That or girder bridge, whatever the correct term is. That was a little difficult getting under there. I think I did a decent job. It doesn't look on camera that there's any missing spots really, so that's good. And then that double bridge, second to the last there, that was kind of hard to get it under there, but I believe I did successfully. It's not showing up on the camera, but that was kind of the main goal. I will probably, I don't know, the rocks that stick up, I might go back over and paint some of them so they look dry on top to add a little bit of depth there, so it doesn't look like I just poured the epoxy over everything, which I did, but some dryness on top might happen. I'm not sure, but yeah. So that's the river. I'm super pleased with the way it came out, even though it was very nerve-wracking. Again, it's one of those things that once you do it, it's like it's expensive stuff. It's a process. It's, you know, mixing it, finding a container large enough to mix it. I was afraid I didn't mix it enough. I followed all the directions. There is a slight film on it in spots, like an oil slick, which you can't really, it's not coming out on camera that I can see, but I can see it. And I'm not sure what that is. That could have been, I don't know, maybe it'll show up once I get it on YouTube, but on the camera I don't see it, but in person I do. It's not on the top if I wipe it. I don't know if that's like, I don't know what that is. It doesn't look terrible. If I add ripple effects on top, it will probably go away. I might not have mixed it enough, but it's definitely probably too clear for my liking. So any little bit of haze or fog is probably okay at this point. If you use the product, make sure you mix it thoroughly, I guess would be my only kind of issue with what I did, is I might not have mixed it thoroughly. But it's hard, it cured, it did everything it was supposed to, even if I didn't do it 100%. I did it 99.9% maybe. So yeah, that's the water. Super, super psyched about it. So that's going to do it for this part, and then we'll go to the next part. Okay, so the last part of the water that I've been working on, I've been using some Mod Podge gloss, which is a rare thing on this layout, as I like everything dull, obviously except for water. So I've started to play around with it, and it's I think it's working pretty well. I've found the more you put, the better it is. It's drying now, so it won't be as white as it is. It should look more kind of the way this area looks in here. So there should be some nice ripples, and I'm finding this was applied very thin, so I want it a little bit more moving. So I've applied a little bit thicker, and I've been just using my airbrush to move it around. Pardon the movement. But you can see, you can just move it. It's starting to dry in spots. Oops, I lost the shrub. That's not going to be good. So one thing to make sure of is that all of your turf is done and really cemented in there. Sorry, I'm not doing a good how-to here. There are plenty of how-to tutorials. I just wanted to kind of quickly show how it works. There's a kind of a big chunk here right above my finger. It's not really wanting to focus. But I think it's working pretty well. It'll dry. I'll come back in a few minutes when this is dry, or in a little bit when this is dry, and show you what it looks like. Again, there's a lot of turf that's kind of gotten on there. I need to clean that up probably before it dries fully. So let me stop the camera, and then we'll come back. Hopefully it'll look a little better than it does now. It won't look as white because it'll dry clear and look ripply. So we'll come back. So in the middle of this July update, we had a slight electrical problem trying to install a new outside light fixture. I thought it was the fixture that wasn't working. Apparently it's probably, hopefully, just the switch, but I'm not an electrician, so I have to put a call in. It's 4th of July weekend, so it's probably going to take some time to get somebody in here, hopefully by the end of the week, though. I realize some people might have Monday off as well, so, and I don't know my electrician's schedule. So hopefully things get back up and running. It's a little upsetting because we have one, I've determined it's one breaker, the top left one, but that also controls a bunch of other random stuff in our house, including our dining room lights and a few lights to the outside garage area. So I want to get that up and running as soon as possible. I spent way too much time yesterday trying to figure things out, and I'm not an electrician, so I pretty much determined it's not the light. There's no power coming to the outside, so it's either from this box to the switch or from the switch to the light outside. I believe it's from the switch to the outside because I did get some juice at the switch that throws the light on, so I'm thinking it's that. And it's an old switch, so I could probably switch it myself, no pun intended, but I just, like I said, I'm not an electrician. I don't want to mess around with it, so I probably messed around with things more than I should have to determine that things didn't work. But so hopefully that gets back up and running, but it's pretty simple to unplug my sections of track. There's two here that go into this junction here, and then one drop-in piece here, and then the board connects here, and I can show you what the board looks like on its own out of this space. And then I've got rail joiners just slide in here. Everything's powered. This track here and my power track, my program track, get powered in to this as well. Actually, nope, I lied. My program track is its own power. That's why that's there and not in here. It's its own feeder. So let me show you what the layout popped out looks like. So this is that section on an old keyboard stand, hanging out in our dry basement since our last flood issue that we had. Lots of issues this summer so far. My last day of school, we had our whole basement flooded. That was a whole other issue, and now I've got an electrical issue. So I've got this here. This building is glued in. I may actually want to unglue that at some point. It's at the front, so when you lean to the box, it kind of gets in the way of your stomach or chest. So that's kind of probably not the best planning. I probably should have, if glued down anything, the ones in the back, but that's okay. So I've got one on the layout, I think, and then this one's just hanging out on here. And while I have it off, I might detail it a little bit more, just because I can't really run trains as well as I would like to, so it'll give me something to do. So that's it. I'm going to give you a quick update when I come back on the water on the river. I've done some more Mod Podge, so I'll show you those results, and then that's going to wrap it up. Alright, so the electrical stuff is taken care of. Luckily, my electrician came right out this morning. It's Monday after the holiday weekend, so one of the reasons why I love the guy, he came out within a half hour after I put a call in. Turns out it was the switch. I was not wrong, but again, I'm not an electrician, so I don't want to play around with that stuff. But everything is back up. I'll show you, I put the lift out part back in, but I just wanted to quickly show you what the river looks like dry after the Mod Podge has been put on. It dried pretty good. This area in the front, in the foreground here, I need to add some more because it's right there, and you can kind of see I missed this spot here. But the ripples are subtle. It's hard to pick it up with the light reflecting since I have an overhead directly above it. But I'm pretty pleased with the way it came out. I'm going to add another layer or two, but you can kind of see it. There's some ripples in there. It looks a lot better. It looks like it's actually, you know, some moving water, depending on how, you know, the light casts on it. It still dries pretty clear and glossy. It still looks wet, so I'm pretty pleased with it overall. I'm probably going to try some water effects. I think Vallejo makes some, or AK. I forget what I saw online, but I'll probably try that, and then that'll be in the next update, hopefully. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with the way it came out. I'm going to add some more Mod Podge on here, see how that looks, fill in some of the missing areas, and then it'll be a work in progress. But I think it's going in the right direction, no pun intended. So let me show you the lift out, how things are going with that, and then that's going to wrap it up. So the lift out section is back in. I haven't tested everything. I think these two sections of track are fine. My Rapido derails the most frequently if things are askew, so that has been okay in both directions over these two sections. These two sections in the back here, this seems okay, and then this is a problem. This rail, outside rail, kind of got a little torqued when I lifted the section out. So when I put it in, it floats a little. I need to get it to stay down. I don't know if you can make that out in the video, but it's got some movement here. I tried to glue it, that didn't work, but I think I'm gonna solder it probably. It's probably my best bet to get it to stay down. it floats above the last two sleepers right here, or ties. So there's nothing to hold it down, but I kind of need it to stay down. So I'm gonna try a few things, and then that's gonna hopefully get everything back up and running, which is kind of cool that I got it back up and running. It worked, it did its job, it served its purpose. So when I needed to get to my electrical box, I was able to easily take it out and get everything back in. I touched up this area here on the building, cement here, or pavement, as that was all cracked. So I quickly touched that up while I had it off. I think I probably tried to lift the building off at one point, and it kind of, the stairs are glued down, so they kind of pulled up the concrete. Excuse me. So I may think about detaching this building in the future, just so I can remove all the buildings from the lift out section. Hopefully I don't have any more emergencies and need to do anything else, but you never know. So that's going to wrap it up for July. Hope everybody has a good month. Had a good one so far, had a good holiday weekend. Hopefully if you started off with a certain amount of fingers at the beginning of the weekend, you still have that same number of fingers on this lovely Monday. So stay safe, be kind, and we'll see you in August.